is like there is something about a Democratic establishment figures that feel more comfortable with a Liz Cheney.
We're going to get to the genocide stuff in a second. Don't worry.
Sitting at the table.
A big chunk of this conversation devolves into talking about
with
Israel.
sitting at the table.
It's gross.
And that the disagreements with Liz Cheney are more kind of are acceptable, and the disagreements to the left are less acceptable.
But one must ask the question, why is that acceptable? Liz Cheney is anti-LGBT. Liz Cheney is anti-abortion. Liz Cheney is anti-Democratic Party. Liz Cheney is the daughter of a rabid, warmongering terrorist sociopath, Dick Cheney. And yet there are Democrats who are more comfortable with her than people who also would totally be on board with the Democratic Party, but I don't know, have maybe sometimes identical opinions of Liz Cheney on even LGBT issues. Like Joe Rogan is a great example of this.
Yeah.
The Democratic Party has consistently utilized and weaponized in the most cynical ways possible identity politics. And I say this as someone who is infinitely more progressive than the average Democrat on these issues.
Mm-hmm.
They just use it. They use it against Bernie. They use it against every single person, and now they're dropping it themselves. That makes every Democrat look like a silly fool. That makes it does. In the eyes of Americans, they go, you called us racist, you called us transphobic, you called us crazy, and now you're saying, okay, my bad, we got to drop this woke shit. Of course people are going to go, all right, I guess like I'm primed into now believing the Republicans. Like you're pushing your base towards being more open-minded to right-wing policies. That's the only thing you're doing. And that's how and that's the only thing you're doing when you don't actually claw back a lot of the things that the former Republican administration engages in. Like Democrats are very good at, trying to fix the deficit. They're the only real deficit hawks, right? Republicans certainly don't care. They only use it as a weapon to wield to communicate against the Democratic agenda. But outside of that, like on foreign policy, Joe Biden said he was going to be an effective foreign policy leader. He did NATO. He kept talking about, NATO Jack, AUKUS, as though that was going to be.
He loved talking about AUKUS. Like I've never been more.
Oh, dude, there's a Ryan Ruth mention coming.
I've never been more like nervous in politics, like other than the day before an election, than when Joe Biden was still in the race and he did that press conference.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, he talked about AUKUS. It's like no one knows what the fuck AUKUS is.
Yeah. Okay, that's a deep cut.
That is a deep cut.
But like Joe Biden was like, I'm the adult in the room, Jack. I'm going to bring back America into the global stage. The way that the American public sees that is like there's a war in Ukraine, right? And that's not even Joe Biden's fault. Like I understand that. That's Vladimir Putin decided I'm going to do the insane thing. I'm going to invade Ukraine. That's psychotic, right? But the way that people see it, they're like, why are we giving money to Ukraine when we're not fixing the potholes? Why are we giving money to Ukraine when the ISPs suck here? What the hell's going on? Why are we giving money to Ukraine when we don't have healthcare? We have homeless people everywhere. And then on top of that, they see that instability as like something that is Joe Biden's fault. Fair or unfair, doesn't matter. They attribute it to Joe Biden. Same thing with Israel-Palestine. They look to what is going on and they're like, this is insane. Like, why Biden will come out and say, or used to come out and say, we're going to do a two-state solution. Benjamin Netanyahu the next day would be like, fuck the two-state. What do you mean? How about no state? Literally the next day. And Biden kept trying to do this thing where he was like finger wagging, where he's like, I'm going to give him a heart-to-heart, real man-to-man. For a lot of Americans, they saw that as like, you're weak, you're old, you're weak, you're feeble, and you're getting dog-walked by an American ally in a very public and very embarrassing way. And there's a metric ton of violence that's happening on top of that. Like he ironically destroyed the goodwill that a lot of people had coming into his administration with the last, I guess, like post-Afghanistan withdrawal. Everything was bad after that with respect to Joe Biden's foreign policy.
It also just like it's also tied to.
I still defend the Afghan withdrawal, by the way, and I think the Democrats also dropped the ball on that too, because they should have stood 10 toes down and said that was the right thing to do. We exhibited political courage. And for the record, Republicans tried to do the 13 of our best soldiers died in Afghanistan thing over and over again, the cynical thing that they tried to do.
Republicans are shameless. Democrats are less so.
No, they should be shameless.
I'm describing what the issue is. Yeah, I mean, part of this though too, like
they cut a bunch of stuff here. I said Democrats should have said 67 soldiers died in Afghanistan under the Trump reign versus the 13 that died under, like there's a reason why no soldier should die, but there's a reason why, this is significantly limited to casualties because we pulled out. You were on Waters' show.
They lost because.
Yeah, I saw. We'll look at that later.
Like huge policy problem in how the Biden administration has responded.
They cut it because it's an hour and 50. The conversation took 2 hours, chat. It was supposed to be 30 minutes. I think that's the reason why they cut a bunch of stuff. They cut my Ryan Ruth joke too.
To the war in Gaza, but on that issue, on a bunch of foreign policy issues, a bunch of domestic issues. Some of the problem has been you have State of the Union, which was good, and everyone's like, okay, that's what happened, right?
Okay.
But other than that, he has been such an ineffective communicator and it has gotten so much worse over.
I'm glad that they cut out some of my jokes. I definitely made a bunch of jokes that probably what. Oh yeah, of course.
The last year.
Yeah, because he's old as fuck.
I know, but like we're in this moment where we're like kind of trying to like, what went wrong? What about this? What about that? People are so mad. Like the people are like they're like the answers that Kamala's advisors gave were unsatisfying. Yeah, they are unsatisfying, but so much of this is just like there was a giant anti-incumbent fervor around the world. Joe Biden was completely unable to articulate a defense of his policies, right? Like the fact that there is inflation and people are mad about inflation is not a reason alone. Like that explains that can explain why we lost if you accept that we had no agency in competing against that argument. But like Joe Biden certainly had just could not communicate effectively.
I think you'll see what happens when someone effectively bullies corporations, regardless of being a right-wing Republican, in the upcoming Trump administration. Things are going to get significantly worse for every single person, including the people that voted for Donald Trump. One of the funniest aspects of the tariffs conversation that's happening right now is that Donald Trump is going to implement broad tariffs on 45% of all trade that comes in and out of the United States of America. Mexico, Canada, and China comprise 45% of all trade. He wants to tariff every single one. Tariffs are obviously an entry fee that like the American corporations are going to be paying. None of the countries are going to be paying for these tariffs. It's a policy that's going to destroy dropshippers, which overwhelmingly vote for Donald Trump, and the Trump merchandise industry. So that's pretty funny. But having said that, it's going to be devastating for the economy. Now, what do I think Trump will do in the process? He'll obviously use tariffs to basically get corporations and industries and sector leaders on board with his agenda. So when he says jump, they say how high, or I'm going to slap you with tariffs and it's going to actually punish you. It's going to hurt your bottom line. And I think that's part of the reason why they're going to do that. The other reason is it's a regressive tax. It's a broad sales tax on all consumers that disproportionately affects the working poor, and Republicans love that shit. But he also, at times, I think, will just institute the Defense Production Act or something. Like we'll see it. We kind of saw it in COVID as well when it was a necessity. But that's the thing. Like the American government is powerful. All governments are powerful, but the American government is especially powerful. It's the wealthiest nation on the planet. And the way that it runs is basically, it's like 50 companies in a trench coat. We are working at the behest of corporations. We feed them with our tax dollars that turn into subsidies for them. They utilize those subsidies to, I guess, lower production costs, but then they use that to increase their profit margins and engage in what used to be illegal pre-Ronald Reagan, stock buybacks and the like, market manipulation of all different sorts. And we're constantly deregulating the economy. And I think that it's not just about having like a populist message. It's about actually implementing said populist message and show who your real enemies are. Like not be afraid to say, these people are fucking your life up. And if you are truly the pro-working class party, as the Democrats want to be, as they claim they were historically, right? And there were certainly times when they were, then you have to say these corporations and the wealthy that have given us money, as well as the Republican Party, and always have been hedging their bets, are the real reason why you're feeling this economic anxiety, the real reason why you feel hopeless, that you will never be able to own a home, that you'll never be able to retire. And the Republicans are always in defense of them. They will distract you with lies. They will say your fellow neighbors, your God-fearing Christian, Muslim, whatever, Jewish neighbors are your enemy, when in fact, we know what the problem is. So we're going to bring them to heel. This kind of messaging is terrifying, obviously, for many different reasons. And it will never happen within the Democratic Party. Well, but in the absence of that,
I don't think that's true. Why?
We'll see. No, I think you'll just get focus grouped messaging and means testing about the opportunity economy, which Kamala Harris presented at a time when people were, when wage growth had never actually caught up to the cost of living
and cost of housing.
Yeah,
which by the way is like you need to be, but like
oh, you need to deflate housing. That's you
need to build vast amounts of housing.
Yeah,
the
federal jobs program. Get these fucking incels to work.
Well, we got to get these incels to work.
No, get them to work. Give them whether they like it or not, they're going to get good, well-paying jobs with good benefits. They're going to get socialized medicine.
Got to put the incels to work.
And they're going to work. None of this neat stuff anymore. They can't be online all the time. They're too online.
It's your business. Now you're coming after your own business.
It's fine. I'm happy for like it. I would drop everything if we got universal health care and a federal jobs program and we're building public housing all around the country. That's fine. There's
a place where the left, the online left and the online right meets, and it kind of meets a little bit at people who think RFK has some good ideas. a little bit. What do you think? What do you like? What is the appeal there?
Cranks.
Just cranks?
Yeah, anti-establishment cranks. There's a lot of them. There's the Tulsi Gabbard constituency, which is like marginal. It's not all that significant. But yeah, I think that the online left is not as robust a media ecosystem as like people think it is in general. And besides that, they don't have any sort of like political motion regardless, right? I am, I have disagreements with the closest Congress members that are ideologically as closely aligned with myself as possible, but I still have many disagreements with them. And outside of that, I think like these guys that like RFK Jr. because they think he's going to make America healthy again. They're just they just like the crank stuff.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I mean,
Oh, another part that was cut, I think, was when I was actually talking about the left media ecosystem and how like I dropped names. I said Chapo Trap House, Majority Report, Drop Site News. All these places, like we have been very aggressive defenders of things that Biden has done when it's actually in the interest of serving the American working class. Like
you talked like when I'm really like 4 years, I guess 8 years ago. Jesus,
it wasn't
remember
cut.
like after Trump won the first time. What I was feeling at the time, which I'm still feeling now, is that like the two challenges, right? Is that like at a moment where someone like Trump is ascendant, like how do you keep this big left together, this big tent together from, yes, it includes the kind of pro-democracy, anti-Trump right, runs all the way to the far left and leftists. How do you keep that big group of people together? And I do think like you're right, like there is just in part because there's just so much money behind it. Like the online right is, I think it's bigger and more influential, but it also knows how to get on board, right? Like it knows, like it fights, it has disagreements, it pushes, but then it knows like for our ends, for our goals, we all need to get behind, whether it's Trump or in previous elections, it was getting behind like Romney-like figures, McCain like they get behind those figures. And sometimes it feels like on the left, like there's no moment at which we say, all right, we've had the fight, we've had the debate, we disagree on a whole bunch of stuff. Hey, everybody, we're going to get together. We're going to make sure that we stop Donald Trump. We elect Joe Biden as much as we elect Kamala Harris. Like that moment doesn't come. And like, I'm not saying that Democrats in power aren't in part responsible for that. I think part of what we need to do is figure out a politics that brings people in. But it does like everyone is responsible.
Yeah, I think just as I was very critical of Bernie Sanders' campaign, despite, still loving Bernie, because he was nowhere near as aggressive as he could have been in the primaries and it, definitely should have probably gone on more like independent media route in a similar vein to Donald Trump. I am still, because I blame the fault on Bernie's campaign strategies in the primaries, despite recognizing the structural hurdles of like a left-wing populace coming out of a Democratic Party primary where it's like the laser-focused audience that goes out and votes at those things, or like the MSNBC watcher base that is like objectively terrified of someone like that because people are saying he's going to, start executing wealthy people. It's still his fault. And it's still the campaign's fault in this regard as well. And that's why I brought forward the point that like you can have 1.5 billion, right? You can have ground game. None of that matters if the message is not actually addressing the real issues that Americans are facing. And the reason why I think the Republicans can, go out and vote for the Republican Party and don't usually sit it out, I guess, and instead are able to say, suck it up and say, yeah, we're still going to vote for Donald Trump, is because there are single issue voters out there, and Trump, they know that Trump is going to protect it. People that like guns are going to be like, I like my guns. I want my guns to be protected. I want to be able to marry my gun. I want to be able to have sex with my gun. I know Donald Trump is going to be the guy that lets that happen. And I know the Democrats are going to, shun me for wanting to have sex with my gun. So that guy's going to go and vote for Trump regardless, right? On the other side, though, if your top line communication and your major policy prescriptions are like, we have to preserve these institutions, we have to preserve civility, and we have to preserve democracy at a time when Americans are like, I don't give a fuck about democracy, just lower the price of eggs, then there's no way that I could outflank the Democratic Party and get people to vote for Kamala Harris that, in a way that sticks, in a way that is going to be successful, no matter how much influence I wield.
It's not, yeah, I'm not even just talking about, yes, take your point.
Most people are just not voting. That's the problem.
But the challenge, right, is that like there are like these three, let's say you say there's these three kind of media ecosystems. There's the right-wing one, there's the kind of mainstream one, and there's the left one. The one on the right is built to attack Democrats. The one in the middle is built to attack Washington and politics, and the one on the left is built to attack Democrats. It is. I mean, like, I think they're trying to pressure Democrats to be a more moral and just version of itself.
I think I probably spend more time shitting on the Republican Party than the Democratic Party, but yeah.
But I'm saying when we're talking about, like, when the right is talking, when right-wing media, it is trying to be a team player, and it is attacking Democrats and supporting Republicans. The middle is attacking both, and the left is attacking Democrats and Republicans. There is no place, right? There is no, like, big kind of fun, exciting media environment.
Yeah.
Outside of, I guess, fucking this table, where, like, you have a lot of people that are, like, critical of the Democratic Party, like, annoyed by the same things we're talking about, but ultimately it's just like, we got to win. We have to get behind these people.
Yeah. Well, but again, it is because for many people on the right-wing ecosystem, like, they have their toys, they have their treats, and the Republicans are giving them those toys and those treats, whereas the Democrats are offering what?
No, I agree. That's
like,
where
what
I'm
are they offering?
Well, yeah, no, I know. We got to fucking figure it out.
It doesn't matter to me. I'm rich. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I probably might go to prison if Project Esther gets kicked in, or if they denaturalize me or something. But
hey, come on.
You know, I mean, who knows? We'll see. But
you can be rich abroad.
That is true.
What are you talking
my
about?
point is, but I like being here. I like trying to solve some of the problems in America, at least.
And then, like,
but
food's
overall,
good,
the point is not that I'm rich. The point is that the point I'm making is that, like, I care about my fellow Americans. I care about them, their lives getting better. They're improving their material conditions, and I recognize that if Democrats keep losing, then Republicans are going to keep ruining this country further. And I want the Democrats to win. I want to be the most regime-pilled propaganda minister you've ever seen.
That's what I want for you.
But I can't do that if the Democratic Party is not offering anything.
I guess here's what I think that's all fair. I guess, like, where I'm, like, what I'm trying to see is, like, what is the path to the Democrats creating the kind of story that's backed by candidates, that's backed by message, that's backed by policy, that's backed by having the right enemies, telling that kind of story, right? And then in concert with that, like, it is a kind of, like, we do need a kind of, like, virtuous circle where then more and more people in left media start to accept that the vehicle for changing this country for the better is the Democratic Party.
If we were consistently critical, I mean, I can't speak for everybody else on the left. I don't know who you're talking about when you say this, but, like, I can speak to my friends that are over at Dropside News, former Intercept guys like Jeremy Scahill and Ryan Grimm. I can speak to Majority Report that was way more in the tank for Kamala than I was, for sure. Like, they were very openly more excited at the prospect of Kamala Harris. I was definitely a lot more depressed by no matter who wins, we are still cooked, was my attitude. But, like, certainly understanding and recognizing that Donald Trump is going to be far worse than Kamala Harris, of course. And Chapo Trap House, right? So these are some of the largest media companies out there on the left, right? Outside of the orbit of the Democratic Party. Every single one of these outlets, myself included, talked more about the Biden administration's accomplishments with the NLRB, with Lena Khan at the FTC with, like, trust busting, and numerous other accomplishments that the Democratic Party actually brought forward than they did. And it didn't matter. My point is, we always defended the Afghan withdrawal unconditionally. You never saw that you barely saw that on MSNBC. We always defended that. We always defended Lena Khan. We always defended the NLRB. We always defended the symbolic move that Joe Biden made when he went to the UAW picket line. We didn't forget that. We talked about that. It didn't matter. It's not enough, especially when there's so much that Joe Biden did, I think, outside of the economic pressures that Americans were experiencing, that was certainly going to play a pivotal role in the election. But there's so much that he did in the month of October in 2023 that just...
You're right. It was a mistake that I didn't bring up the Talk to a Pod and all the stuff that Haley Welch has done at the behest of the Democratic Party.
Doors open.
Okay. Well, I missed it.
Just completely wiped that. That made it impossible to defend him because it became the major focus of a lot of people. And there's nothing you can do in that moment when people are, seeing exactly what's going on and getting frustrated. He unveiled the right-wing immigration bill on October 5th, 2023. If I might be getting the date wrong, but it was like literally 2 days before October 7th. He did that, and then October 7th happened, and he went and he bear hugged Netanyahu and kept giving, unlimited weapons to Israel over and over again, never restraining Israel. Everybody knew exactly what was going to happen. It had happened before, and it was going to be much worse. And yet, no restraint whatsoever. And it has, I think, diminished America's soft power capabilities on the global stage further. It has eroded America's influence and soft power capabilities in the Western world. Obviously, the global South already knew what was up. They've always known, but they have no power. They have no voice. It doesn't matter. But the populations in Western Europe recognizing what was going on and actually starting to protest against it, I mean, that's different. I'm saying this as someone who's been an advocate for Palestinian emancipation for the past 10 years publicly. I've never seen this groundswell of this massive sea change, this attitude shift in such a dramatic fashion over the course of the last 12 months, and they did not address that at all. And instead, they hugged and kissed neocons and talked about, even in the VP debate, like Israel having the nuclear first strike capability. What an insane conversation we're having after 12 months of genocide. Like, that's, Americans fancy themselves to be peaceful people. It's a lie. America's foreign interventions are anything but peaceful. And but even then, the media ecosystem usually just shelters Americans from the genuine devastating impact of America's actions globally. But for that reason, Americans can at least feel like they're peaceful doves, which is why Donald Trump, despite never being a peaceful dove, was able to effectively communicate that he was actually anti-Iraq war against Hillary Clinton in 2016, which was a resilient message that actually showcased him as more moderate than Hillary Clinton in the eyes of many Americans. He did 4 years of no peaceful dove shit whatsoever, and then he turned around and after October 7 was still able to effectively outflank the Democrats on this issue, despite the fact that he got $100 million from Miriam Adelson, Sheldon Adelson's wife.
I think your food is outside.
Potentially annex the West Bank and put rabid evangelical freaks like Mike Huckabee as the Israeli ambassador. Like, these guys are insane.
It's why it's very heartbreaking for me too. Look, I think one of the reasons people will be mad that you're on the show is because you're like a proud anti-Zionist, right? Like, you said that. I've gotten shit for saying.
I was say anti-Semite. I was like, damn.
Joining us today, anti-Semite dumbass.
Yeah.
No, but like, I actually, like, a couple, like 2 or 3 years ago, I said on Pod Save America, like, that I described myself as a Zionist, which got people upset too. But what I said then and what I still say now is, and I actually had the same conversation with Bernie, is like, you ought to denounce the destruction and death in Gaza. You ought to denounce the moral abomination that is taking over the West Bank on its own terms, because it is morally reprehensible.
Yeah.
It is despicable. It is these are war crimes being committed against innocent Palestinians who are paying with their lives for the crimes of Hamas. And like, you don't need to go further than that. What I'm saying is, it is also terrible for Israel, and you don't need to care about that.
No, I agree.
No, I know.
I do care about that.
And like, what Bernie said, I always appreciate what he has to say on this issue. When he said is that basically even Israel does not understand the way in which they're becoming an isolated pariah nation, and so people will be mad to have someone who is a self-proclaimed anti-Zionist on this show, but like, I am someone who has called himself a Zionist, and I am against this because I believe it doesn't serve Israel's interest either. And that, to me, is what is so devastating about the outcome of this election, in part because of policy, in part because Joe Biden is such an kind of incomprehensible messenger on one of the most delicate and contentious topics in American politics. We now have Donald Trump, who's able to elide what his actual views would be on this issue. And we have seen what happens in Israel when you have someone like Trump in power at a moment of crisis. And now there is Trump back in office here. And if you are concerned about the lives of Palestinians, if you're concerned about continuing instability and violence and death in that region, this election has just made everything so much fucking worse.
American foreign policy being so uniparty on this issue is genuinely frustrating. And it's genuinely damaging for Israel, because we recognize how our fellow Americans are becoming more reactionary every single day, especially with this new Trump election. You see people that formerly maybe had different opinions go, you know what, maybe it is good to deport 20 million people violently by utilizing the military potentially. This is something that the Donald Trump administration has said they're going to do.
Well, at the very least, even if people don't believe that'll happen or didn't understand, like, these things are not like the expectation that Donald Trump taking all of these extreme positions would be enough. That just wasn't true.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to explain here is that before you know it, people can succumb to reactionary feelings and reactionary sentiment and find themselves in the throes of fascist ideology without even recognizing it. And I think examining that is important in an academic setting. That's why we have Holocaust studies, right? That's why we have genocide studies as an entire field, to specifically understand exactly how Nazi Germany got to that position, or fascist Italy got to the position that it got to. And I think that, you might even disagree with me on this, but like, that's where Israel is. That's where Israel is at right now. They have become an incredibly angry culture, an incredibly angry country that has succumbed, especially since the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin, who wasn't exactly a great guy for Palestinians either. I mean, he was known as the guy who deliberately tasked the Israeli security forces in breaking the hands of children for for stone throwing, right, in the first Intifada. That guy was the like off ramp for peace negotiations with Palestinians, and they assassinated him. And his assassins and people who are backing his assassins, like Itamar Ben-Gvir, like Bezalel Smotrich, are now firmly a part of the Israeli establishment, the current governing
Israeli
coalition.
government.
It's kind of crazy that people have the audacity, people who like read Wikipedia pages have the audacity to claim that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about when it comes to foreign policy and that I'm out of my element. Like, it is kind of wild that they just rely exclusively on mainstream narratives and the fact that people just genuinely don't know anything about this kind of shit. To just basically say such slanderous statements, you know?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's why I'm giving talks in the UK.
there are also hundreds of thousands of Israelis who have protested this government.
Yeah, for different reasons, but yeah, no,
but-
for sure.
Yes, and again, like, I just think it's important. Yes, like, Israel is responsible for Israel's actions, but we do need to separate Benjamin Netanyahu and his conduct from the Israeli people. In the same, that doesn't mean they're not responsible in the same way that America is not George W. Bush, right? But America is responsible for what George W. Bush
Yeah.
when he is in command of our armed forces.
Yeah.
But we understand that distinction.
No, of course. The problem is you have to also look at the Overton window, though, in any society, in any culture, in any country, right? And I think that, and I come from, I'm Turkish. Like, I come from a country with a conscription. Like, I understand what ultranationalism is. I've lived through it. I've experienced it. I know what it's like when Turkish people hear me say, like, that the Armenian genocide is real, for example. Like, that's like a non-starter, right? That's like, you can't say that. What are you talking about? I learned in school that it wasn't real, right? Like, I understand how a country can become more and more right-wing, where even the liberal position is still committed to the maintenance of an apartheid. And I think that is where we're at with Israel, and we have to restrain Israel as we are the number one partner of Israel, whether it be the weapons that we give to Israel, whether it be the financial support that we give to Israel, or whether it be the trade partnership that we have, or the financial partnership that we have with Israeli companies. We have a lot of influence over what Israel does, and I think over the course of the last couple of decades, especially with Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel has become a more and more right-wing nation.
Yes, it is a country that now views itself as being isolated and
Yeah.
under siege, right?
Yeah.
Like, all of this is
This is really funny. When people say it's totally on site for commies like Hassan, what are you going to do, man? You're going to come to my house and suck my cock? Is that what you want? Huh? You saw the meat pic? Are you doing meat watch? Huh? You saw the meat on main and you're like, damn, I want it in my mouth. Is that what it is, big boy? I unbanned you. You can speak. You can speak on it if you want. Is that your goal? A little bit of meat watch for you, huh? Is that what you're gonna do? You're gonna come over, you're gonna suck my dick dry, huh? Is that what you're gonna do? It's on site for commies like you? Okay, dude. Okay, psycho solitaire type of motherfucker that literally perishes at the mere prospect of having a social interaction with a fucking cashier. Dumbass.
like, we have moved in the wrong direction in a bunch of, like, this is all gotten to be so kind of hopeless. Israel faces recrimination from around the world, feels isolated, feels like it needs to turn inward to protect itself, views itself as being
Yeah, it's going
under
the Rhodesia route.
attack. Well, it's like the question right to me is like, how do you break that cycle? I agree it requires a ton of American pressure, but it also, I think, like, the turn, like, anti-Zionist fervor, like, to me, like, anti-Zionism itself is not a path to where we ultimately need to go, which is a peace and Palestinian self-determination, right? Like, that's what I believe in. Like, that's what I care about. That's where I want this. Like Israel as a country that no longer feels constantly under threat. Palestinians being able to live in peace and safety without being under occupation, in control of their own destiny. And to me, like, that, like, it's become a kind, like, that is a two-state solution. And anything that drives towards that, I think, is ultimately the direction we need to go. Right now, we're moving in the opposite direction, which is why this all feels so hopeless to me.
Well, I mean, look, I used to be of that same mindset maybe like a decade ago as well, where I resort to the likes of Avi Shaleem on this, or Ilan Pape on this, in terms of, like, my analysis of it. But, like, the settlement operations in the so-called peace process that were, again, funded by America as well, and still funded to this day by, like, the likes of Kufi, Christians United for Israel, which is the oftentimes not talked about part of this equation that is significant, and dare I say more significant than whatever Jewish Americans think about Israel. Like it's the right-wing evangelical Christians that are the number one funders of the settlement project.
But
in
it's
general.
also like the consequences for the expansion of settlements.
Yeah, well, that's
and the use of settlement, like what was once expanding settlements as part of a negotiation tactic towards what would ultimately have been a solution is now just a plan to take over the West Bank.
Yeah, no, it's
I mean, like,
it's developing Bantustans, which they did. And my point is that has made it virtually impossible for a two-state solution to exist, which is why I think that like Israel already maintains sovereignty, and that as an apartheid state, what needs to happen is to abolish the apartheid.
So Hassan is a fascist, aha. We all believe in violence at the end of the day, right? What are you saying? I just said, if you want to come over and suck my cummies, I'm not interested, okay? I like that you not so subtly threatened me with death and then immediately are like, oh, you seemingly are a fascist and all you know is violence. Like, what kind of pussy shit is this? The fuck? That's a crazy fucking... That's crazy backtracking. It's totally on site. Cope, it's coming for you. And you helped create this atmosphere. It's totally on site for commies like Hassan. Literally unbanned. 4 minutes later, so Hassan is a fascist. We all believe in violence at the end of the day, right? Fucking idiot. Bitch.
Which is something that, unfortunately, many Israelis refuse to reckon with, at least right now, because that would mean 5 million Palestinians, and including the 2.5 million Palestinian citizens of Israel, would now constitute a demographic majority in this area, in this land that Israel enforces sovereignty over, and that is terrifying for its demographic destiny, its demographic goals in general.
Well, just also okay. That's something to add. Like you can point, like it's also something that Israel is never going to assent to.
No, I understand that, which is why I think like the pressure campaigns, albeit minimal, but the change in attitude and the way that like a lot of people see this dynamic is significant, and I think that inevitably things will change, and we're seeing it right now. We're seeing it with the ICC decision. Like this is a truly unique moment. We're seeing it with the ICJ court case. We'll see where it goes, but I think that I understand why even members in the State Department that I would directly be at odds with in the way that we examine the world have from the start tried to say this can't happen, that we need to use the liberal Zionist off-ramp immediately. We need to just like, put Benny Gantz in charge or something. Like we need to just like single out Benjamin Netanyahu, say he's the bad guy, and then move in the direction.
Yeah, negotiation tactic is kind of crazy. Look, I gave a lot of I definitely was not going to be super aggro on this conversation because it was like I was trying to be as nice as possible with as much grace as possible.
Move in the direction where like a more manageable, more liberal person, a more moderate person can be left responsible and restrain Israel in some way in order to continue Israel being an unsinkable aircraft carrier in a resource-rich region. And
Hassan, you're a rich commie clown, enemy to free, liberty-loving Americans. You can be mad that your enemy recognizes you, but it doesn't change anything. Playing dumb while holding a weapon, acting like it wasn't a veiled threat. Haha, you are a hypocrite. Brother, you literally said you're going to come to my house and try and kill me. You said it was on site. I think you misunderstood. You just saw, I don't know, you saw the fucking Second Amendment. And it just like frustrated you for a second, I think. That's what it is. That's not me being a hypocrite. I have a right to defend myself, don't you think?
And they didn't even listen to that. Like the
but
top
also
of
because
the,
it was
the top of the
because
administration just didn't even listen to that.
Well, because Netanyahu is an obstacle to any kind of peace. I mean, this is we have
the PFP law. You need to see this. Oh my God, that's what you look like, brother. Please have a family, raise your kids. You should not be on fucking Twitch crying in a person's chat like this. Go talk to your fucking kids, man. The fuck are you doing? I never said I was coming to your house, Cope kid. Why are you acting like you didn't say it's on site for commies like you? Cope, it's coming for you and you helped create this atmosphere. And now you're like, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. There's a reason why your kids are probably embarrassed of you, big dog. It's because, you're doing this shit. Don't do this shit. Also, I am noticing that you did not deny that you want to suck my dick. So that's cool. I don't want it, but, I will take it as a compliment.
We have been in moments in the recent past where Palestinians and Israelis were at the table and peace seemed within reach, right? And that seems very far away right now. We were, and that seems very far away right now. But to me, that still seems closer than a single state. And to me, there's that sort of a future of heading towards that is a future of a lot more chaos and violence and terror and horror. And so I come back to my view remains that the future, that the only hope is some kind of a two-state solution. As far as that seems right now, people want to say otherwise, fine. But
I think they're gonna annex the West Bank. I think that's what I think is gonna happen. But
let's move.
Trump's gonna let it happen. Trump.
This is the thing.
And it's not even because Trump is ideologically committed to the Zionist project in the way that Joe Biden was. It's because Miriam Adelson gave him $100 million. That's it.
Trump doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit about anything. He's just these guys gave me money. I'm gonna listen to her, and that's it. And that was really funny because that's what he's talked about in the anti-Semitism conference that he put together. If you recall, he was like, "I've done so much for you Jews. Why won't you vote for me?" That's what he kept saying. He's like, "If I lose, it's because of you Jews."
I know.
And it was insane because in his mind, he thinks that's the only thing that American Jews care about. It's the dual loyalty trope. But you also can't do that trope in a woke way on mainstream media either. When you are, I'm not saying you're doing this.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you also can't do that in a more woke way when you're talking about Israel in as many liberal outlets do sometimes when they talk about you just want Israel to perish, I think, and you're probably anti-Semitic and that it's just Israel has demographic concerns. It's okay, well America has demographic concerns. America has white demographic concerns. That's a non-starter for me. You know what I mean? I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, there is also a ton of anti.
And that was, I think, important point that I wanted to land there as well. Am I being too subtle, or is it coming across? I mean, this is not the best audience to ask because you guys know what my perspective is, but.
I know you don't. I know.
Yeah,
I just
100%.
making sure because yes, and
yeah, it's skyrocketing.
And that, but again, we gotta move on from this. But it's just you see it in our politics, you see it in politics around Israel, this kind of vicious circle of people feel under threat, they turn inward, they become less and less empathetic towards their neighbors. That leads them to be more and more isolated. And to me, it's the question is not I'm not even interested in philosophical debates, ideologically. It's how do you break that human cycle, right? And I think on our side, it starts with just a policy that recognizes that even if that it is in Israel's interest to stop the violence and to stop the killing, and that moving towards something like the annexation of the West Bank or the permanent occupation of Gaza or whatever it may be is ultimately not in Israel's interest. I know that makes me sound like a neo-lib shill, but that is what I think.
No, I understand where you're coming from. I don't disagree with you. I think that's why I was trying to bring it back to American politics. And I don't think it's an accident that in the past 3 decades, every single Western capitalist nation firmly planted within the heart of empire, firmly within the comfortable bosom of American imperialism, has shifted dramatically to the right. And in that process, I think, or leading up to that, there was a lot of austerity, a lot of clawing back of social safety nets, a lot of privatization that took place that some people call the enshittification of the economy or the enshittification of everything. And in that process, I think people got more and more angry. And the only people that benefit from that anger are always going to be far-right figures that can point to people that are defenseless and people that are less powerful than you are. And they were able to successfully use the anger to redirect that towards nationalist sentiment, to redirect that towards racism, homophobia, bigotry of all different sorts. And that's why you're seeing the reform movement grow in the UK with Nigel Farage, who now has a higher approval rating than the very conservative Tory-adjacent Labour leadership in Keir Starmer. That's why you're seeing the AfD grow in momentum in Germany. That's why you're seeing Le Pen's party, win or also grow as well. Even if she goes to jail, her movement will not, go away. And in every single instance, you have centrist, moderate to
How is Cutie running late, bro? Why does chat know she's running late? It's fucking, the podcast is in an hour. It's in 40 minutes. How is she running late? Is she still streaming? She's still making food. She's cooking for 17 people. God damn, dude.
center right
Tell her to fucking end her goddamn stream right now and start driving.
Neoliberal party leadership constantly trying to maintain the hegemonic status of neoliberalism and losing out to populist far-right messaging every step along the way, because Uber Eats and immediately have it at my doorstep. But like overall, the important things like educational attainment, healthcare, public transit. If we're talking about Europe, we don't even have that here in America.
We can talk about it here too.
You know, home ownership. These sorts of things are just getting worse and worse year over year, and it truly ruins people's lives, and it leaves them angry and confused. And right-wingers like Donald Trump, or fascists like those in Europe, like Maloney's party in Italy as well, or Geert Wilders in the Netherlands, like these guys use that opportunity to say, you know why you're mad? Because Muslim refugees came in and they ruined your beautiful European culture.
It's the challenge, right? Is that like things aren't getting worse on every metric. They're not. And if you were to look at the last, I don't know, 50 years of American politics, and if you just showed people the economic data and you said, I want you to find on this chart where the United States elected a fascist dunce, you would not pick 2024. You might pick 2008. You might pick 1992. You might pick after the stagflation of the 70s. There are a bunch of times you might say, well, that must have, if it's someplace here, it must have been then. And so I do think like we have to. I think housing is a big part of it. I think people being furious that life didn't seem to come. Like people are, I think, traumatized by the pandemic in ways we're still kind of. It's hard to see and hard to find in polling, right? I think there's like a deep anger about like, hey, wait, things never got back to normal. I don't feel normal. Costs didn't come back down. Life seems worse in measurable and immeasurable ways. And I do think part of it is like, yes, it's material, but it's also, I think,
spiritual.
It is. There is something. I think that there was a bargain people were making when all the restaurants where they knew the owners closed and they were replaced by fucking Panera Breads and Subways and chains. And when the supermarkets became chains and the Walmarts came in, right? When people like to blame Walmart, but Walmart is both a symptom and a cause, right? I think like there was a bargain people made. And the bargain was, I'm going to give up on like the kind of dignity and community and sense of place and belonging that I used to experience in my town for this cheap stuff.
Yeah,
but
treats.
It better be fucking cheap.
Yeah,
it's
treats.
Not. But I think people are very bad at understanding what they want. And people, I do think that there's this collective feeling of like, hey, we traded something away to these corporations. And some of it we did unwillingly, some of it we did willingly, but we're not happy with the outcome. And I do think that that's about community.
By the way,
I do think that's
Don't worry, I bring up the fact that right here, Chad is all chirping saying alienation.
about meaning.
Yeah, what you're describing. You're describing alienation, but
yeah, I am. But that is a big
but
part
in
of
the
it.
Marxian sense, not like alienation in the normal understanding of it. But like, yes, you're right. Americans feel isolated. Everyone feels isolated. Everyone feels alienated. They feel alienated from their labor, and besides that, there is no sense of identity. And I talk about this quite frequently. Actually, our consumption is the only marker for identity.
Yeah.
Even guns is a very important political identity for a lot of Americans. That's consumption. That's no different than an expensive Gucci bag. Okay, it's actually more expensive in many instances, and the culture that surrounds it is still ultimately at the point of consumption. And when there is a hurdle in front of that, whether it's cost or because you just simply can't go and buy it at the store or whatever during COVID and the lockdowns, everything falls apart because we're a very fragile nation that is built on this idea that like as long as I get shit for cheap, I'm fine. I don't really care. As long as the cost of eggs will go down, 20 cents or $1, I don't care if 20 million migrants get deported, is the calculation that some people made. And many people said it's not going to happen anyway. Now, there's the other side of the story.
But
that's why I want
to hear the other side. But I just wanted to say
the other side is what I was trying to say is this is what Kamala Harris did wrong, in my opinion. She could have gone up there and said, I am going to arrest the Walton family. And if she was able to successfully say, I'm going to arrest the Walton family and they're going to stand trial, okay, in a military tribunal,
Sure.
And that is going to make egg prices $5 cheaper. Eggs are going to be 10 cents again. Americans would have voted for that. That's my point.
So
you don't have to go that crazy, obviously.
No, I know. Well, I guess it's just like this to me. Like these are the twin problems of dealing with a fascist threat. One is keeping a big, fractious, progressive, small L liberal movement together. The other is how you defend the value of institutions that don't do that. And like I know you're being
hyperbolic. I'm exaggerating.
I know you are. I know you are.
I think that for far too long, deregulation and unconditionally supporting corporations, and even having what you just described as like the formative opinion on antitrust. Like as long as the consumer is happy, as long as the prices are low, we don't care if you monopolize.
But that's the rights view. I mean, we like Democrats are now fighting. Like no, but some of this is like we're fighting back on that stuff.
No, but so that was the rights view, but that was kind of uniparty for a very long time. At least
I think
since the 90s.
I think but this is I think conservatives had an ideological view of this.
Yeah.
The Bork view of this. They came in and they said antitrust doesn't mean what it says in the law. It doesn't mean what it says in people's experience of what a monopoly does. It's this one specific definition, which makes it really hard to stop mergers.
Yeah.
And Democrats said, wait, hold on. Like, kind of, Democrats just didn't have a strong view on this. It just wasn't a motivating. It wasn't.
I know, but why didn't they?
Well, I think I think there wasn't. I think that I think the intellectual academic left had to catch up to the damage this was doing. I think Democrats just didn't focus on it, didn't care about it. I also think there is money from donors. Of course. I know you don't need to rhetorically cue me up. I know. But that, like, I think sometimes it is. I think it is not people saying, "Oh, I wish we would go after these giant monopolies more, but I got this donation, so no, now I'm not." But it's a culture, a kind of pro-business culture, right?
Yeah.
That like kind of pervaded Democrats since the 90s that made conversations about this kind of thing harder to have, which is different now because Lena Khan is now the chair of the FTC, right? Elizabeth Warren created this Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, right? Like there has been a shift, but it is both a not enough and not a shift in people's actual understanding of what the Democratic Party
because
is for.
there's no immediate gratification that comes from that.
I know.
And the immediate gratification that is supposed to happen could happen potentially with wide sweeping legislative agenda changes overall, or like clearly communicating a pathway towards like a more just outcome for healthcare, for example. Like that's not something that we're invested in. Like things that touch people's lives immediately is going to yield very positive benefits. I will say this. I think as far as like Lena Khan or the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, these are fantastic things that happened under the the watchful eye of the Biden regime.
Well, Barack Obama
and Barack Obama as well. The problem here, however, is that once again, I think out of genuine fear, maybe that they would disrupt or upset the Tony West coalition of the Democratic Party. All of these like major donors that donate to the Democratic Party, they didn't do a good job even explaining what they were doing. And I'll tell you why. Just real quick, I just want to give you an example of the IRS, right? Joe Biden funded the IRS. Every dollar that goes to the IRS, I think, is like what, $7 extra or 30, up to 35, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know the exact numbers, but like every dollar that you spend on the IRS, you get 35 in return in America's coffers, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's massive. That's fantastic. Republicans hate that.
Yeah.
They hate the IRS. And many Americans also hate the IRS as well. They hate paying taxes, partially because they don't see anything in return for it. And even though the IRS getting more funds actually retrieved a lot of tax dodgers that were refusing to pay taxes, and on top of that, their investigations concluded that I think Coca-Cola had evaded taxes to the tune of $16 billion. Right, one company.
Mm-hmm.
I never heard that from the Biden administration. They never went out and said, this is why we funded the IRS.
Yeah.
Not because we want to come after you and your trailer, okay, in the trailer park with our armed agents or whatever. Republicans, on the other hand, were like, 85,000 armed agents are coming to your house.
Yeah,
they're going to kill you. They're going to take away your children, and they're going to take your guns, and they're going to take your trailer park.
I think we paid for not having an effective communicator in the president. Like I think we paid dearly for
it's
that.
not just the president.
I know it's not. I know it's not just. I know it's.
Pete Buttigieg is a attack dog. Sick him on every television show.
I do think part of the challenge is a lot of people are talking about what these agents would actually do. It just doesn't get covered. Doesn't get attention. Just doesn't matter. People don't cover this kind of stuff. That's part of it. I'm not saying there aren't Democrats. I agree with you. Like Democrats need to have a kind of combative. Like if that's anything we take away from Donald Trump becoming president is that like clearly we need somebody.
People want a fighter.
They want a fighter. They want a fighter. And
you can't fight for opportunity economy and $50,000 in tax credits for startups. That is not something to fight for. You need to be a fighter, and you need to fight for things that are universally good and that people want: healthcare, fixing the housing market, things like that.
Well, she did do that. Yeah, I just like I agree with you.
But again, even her communication on that is like so much of the Democratic Party is now officially captured by what we would look back in the past as like unimaginably right-wing economic policies, like tax cuts. And tax cuts and a public-private partnership. When I hear those words, I'm like, I'm not regime-pilled.
Yeah,
I want to be regime-pilled. I want to champion the social democratic regime. I want to make the Democratic Party look like. I want to make the Democratic Party make Olof Palme look like a fucking revisionist right-wing reactionary. Okay. That's what I want. I want trains.
I want trains.
I want better public transit.
Better transit. I want more. I want
socialized housing. Like. Okay. But you're stopping.
I don't know, but like, what do you mean? We can't get into it. We got out of time. We've gone so long.
What I'm saying is like
I am for building millions upon millions of houses everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm for.
Yeah, but no public-private partnership. Build it with federal, publicly funded employees, and build it as a mechanism to claw back the insane housing market prices, to lower them by force.
Okay,
that's what I think.
All right.
I think if you said that, a lot of Americans would be like, I like that idea.
I think if a Democratic politician got up there and said, we are gonna employ millions of Americans, we're gonna have a national jobs program to employ millions of Americans building millions of houses, I think that'd be very popular. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're regime pilled as well.
I am regime pilled. Now, I did go on your feed yesterday to see what you've been up to.
Oh my God.
And
Here we go.
can we just put this up?
I think I know what you're gonna post.
I was looking for what your reaction was to the Harris campaign podcast, and I just found this, and I just thought, is this what the Joe Rogan of the left would post?
I think Joe Rogan posts sexy
Donald
pics of
Trump.
himself.
Donald Trump wins, and you're like, I think I know what I need to do. I need to post whole.
Yeah.
You getting good
Yeah.
reactions to this? Is this getting you what you need?
Well, I wanted to show my progress. It's
Mhm.
been a while. That's like from 2021
Yeah.
till now, and I mean, I do talk about my fitness journey quite
Yeah.
a bit.
You do Pilates?
What?
You do Pilates?
No, I train. I weight train, and then I play basketball. That's what I
are you
do.
doing for cardio? Nothing?
Basketball.
Basketball?
Yeah, I play basketball 3 times a week, sometimes 4. And that's been very good. I also track my macro nutrients. I track all my calories.
What does that do for you?
What do you mean? It's that right
You think
there.
that's what it's doing?
Picture on the right. That's
think
how
so?
I got there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I use Manjaro. It's awesome.
Oh, nice.
awesome.
I have family members that use it as well, and it's been
cool.
very helpful.
Yeah, I don't have to think about it anymore.
Well, yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. Do you feel like it's stopped your other addictive
Yeah.
tendencies as well?
I'm a better driver. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird?
Maybe because you're not on your phone or something?
No, I think it's because my I'm not spending so much of my mental energy on diet, and so I'm just a little bit less kind of spent and I don't know, impulsive
Yeah.
around other things, and so I don't feel some need to get home 2 minutes faster. It's hard to explain.
Okay.
I don't feel as much
No,
of a
I
need
understand it.
to find justice on the roads.
I
Does
understand
that
it.
make sense?
Yeah, you asked me. No, I 100% get it. You asked me why you track your calories or whatever. But I get a lot of comfort from the rigidity of my schedule, my
Yeah.
regimen, and I don't even think about it because it's just a habit that I have at this point. And for that reason, it's not even a thing I think about at all. It doesn't weigh on me. But when I was, when I was eating in a very unhealthy way, it did constantly weigh on me. I was like,
Yeah.
but it feels so good.
I know,
But also,
I know.
it's so bad for me. But then,
I feel like you get a little bit hopeless.
yeah.
It's true in politics too.
For sure. I mean, definitely. But you gotta focus on whatever small victory you can have. And it's the same for fitness. And like I said, going back to the Joe Rogan of the left conversation, this is definitely
Manjaro is Ozempic.
something that I talk to my community about quite a bit. And there's a lot of people in my community that have also gone on their own fitness journey. I've been able to inspire them to do this as well. And I think it's important to be physically healthy.
I do just to close this out because we've gone on too long, but there is something about in terms of meaning and a spiritual I think there's a reason that there's been an appeal of people like the Jordan Petersons of the world and some of the kind of more self-help right-wing types.
Yeah.
And I do think there are a lot of people out there looking for not just sort of answers in politics, but answers about why does I feel unfulfilled, working, not working, whatever it may be. I feel like I'm missing community and the kind of leadership that would come from community.
Bro, this is what she's doing. That's why she's late. God damn. This is crazy.
And I do think that's why sometimes you see I don't know, even on the shows we do, I do feel there's a hunger for something broader than just a political program, but more of a kind of way of grappling with the fact that this version of modern life kind of dares us to ruin our own lives.
Yeah.
You know?
I offer that
Yeah.
in my broadcasts every day. I talk about my own personal journeys, and I offer advice. I used to have an advice segment as well.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done it in a while, but I'm going to bring it back. And that's why I also collaborate with other content creators, even if I don't align with them politically, agree with them politically at all. But, there are plenty of people that I know who are my friends, who I think as long as they're like relatively charitable and good and kind people. Even if we don't agree on everything politically, it doesn't matter. You know, I find myself in these bro spaces a lot. I've been on almost every single podcast that Trump has been on.
Yeah.
And many of them are run by my friends, like Impulsive. My buddy Mike Malak is Logan Paul's co-host. Not the biggest fan of Logan Paul, but I love Mike. Mike is a fantastic human being. He has an incredible journey of overcoming addiction, and he wrote about it as well. He had a New York Times bestseller. Bradley Martin with the Nelk Boys. I don't really know the Nelk Boys, but like Bradley Martin I like a lot. He owns Zoo Culture. He's a real meathead. And that's and Andrew Schultz as well. I've been on that podcast too. Like these are a lot of these podcasts I've been on as well. And like these guys and their audiences are receptive to what I have to say. And I think like optics play a role in that for sure. Like the way I carry myself, the way I am naturally, authentically, I think is a package that young men are not immediately dismissive of. And I'm very aware of that, and I try to use that for good. And I try to use that to like explain to people that like it's not cool to, you know, shit on random people for no reason. They're like, let them live. Like, what the fuck is this to you? It's not gonna fix your life. Yeah, you're being a kind of a loser, an entitled little loser, and it's not good. And that does work.
Boss baby energy.
It works, and I think the size of my community now, and the makeup of it is proof of that reality. Like a couple of years ago, I didn't have the numbers that I have now, and virtually every single person in my audience will tell you that like there is one key issue that I have dramatically changed their opinion on, whether it be American foreign policy, whether it be the way that they viewed trans people and were transphobic, but now they're not, or even racist opinions. So that's what I try to do to the best of my ability in my little corner of the internet.
Hasan Piker, good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
When we come back, Congressman Seth Moulton.
I hope it was good, you know. I think it was decent. I mean, I definitely toned it down a bit, especially on the Israel's front. And there was a bunch that was cut out, I think, from that conversation too. But not too much. Nothing crazy. I think they just like cut it for one, to save my ass, really, because I said some stuff about Ryan Ruth. Now let's look at the comments. Let's look at the comments. Please don't remind us about Dan's interview. We aren't mad at you. We're mad at overpaid consultants who ever seem to do losing thing. Such a contrast to that utter pablum from the other day. Right from the jump, they're more hostile to Hasan than they were to the people who blew this. I don't think they were that hostile. The Democratic Party needs serious reform. It's bloated without a touch consultants and talking heads trying to justify their jobs, leading losing campaigns and not listening to the working class. He was right before, he's right now. The Dems need to grow a spine and not be doormats. This guy's good at articulating his ideas and desires for people in America and around the world. People will call him idealistic, but not only is that what we need, he backs it up with bountiful evidence. Gotta admit, this guy knocked it out of the park about the way I feel about the party and the direction it's gone since 2009. Why does he understand me better than the people who are paid millions of dollars to do? Damn. Like, that guy is probably not the HasanAbi head just writing a fake. So glad you have Hasan on because mainstream Dems watch and listen to you. Must understand the obvious truths Hasan articulates. This Hasan guy seems to really know what he's talking about. Glad to see someone accurately diagnose the Democratic Party's issues. Where has the party of FDR gone? That's crazy. That's good. Who is this guy and can he run in 2028? Seriously, he's brilliant. I totally agree with his Joe Manchin blaming. And if I'd known all that stuff, I would have made it public. Thank you for this. Best I felt in 3 weeks, says Arkansas vote blue. These are like liberal moms, dude. Goddamn. You got 2 Zim packs on the table. Yo, can you get the door? I don't know, it's probably my mom. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's Gabe. Yeah, go show some love to the interview. Thanks for having me on. Comment. Boom. That's crazy that this is like popping off. Dude, the Pod Johns, the audience loves it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they love it.
Damn. I watched the whole thing.
You did not watch the whole thing. You're such a liar. Why are you
I was
lying?
listening to the whole thing.
Why do you lie all the time, dude?
I was listening to the whole thing in the other room.
You're really doing a disservice to the gays, bro. You're doing anti-gay propaganda.
Secretly ordering on the BDS list and delivering so much BDS food to them. I don't even know what BDS stands for.
Boycott, divestment, and sanctions.
Oh, okay. Just sitting secretly in a corner, mischievously ordering BDS food. Everyone is praising the same leftist garbage. Please send them to run for office. Another win. This is
I like that the Republican is a Republican pod John watcher. The fact that John is more combative with Hassan, who had nothing to do with the Democratic strategy than Dan in his discussion with the Harris campaign, is the exact problem with liberal media when Hassan's approach of talking about real material. I thought John was not that combative. I thought John Lovett was not that combative with me. Maybe it's because I'm so used to people being unimaginably combative with most of the things I talk about that, like, I didn't think that way at all. Lovett was very agreeable, but it took every bone in his body to not shout you down. And I think anyone who watches PSA can clock it. Maybe I'm so used to people. Yeah, I'm so used to people just being like, dude, you're a fucking terror-loving anti-Semite that wants to kill every Jewish person. Shut the fuck up. I hope you get deplatformed and kill yourself in the process. Is like my normal, I would say the median naysayer.
Somebody said I'm the type to eat at Chick-fil-A. Yeah.
Yeah, he does all the time.
All the time. I got a lot of points. I'm the type to use my points at 10:30 or 10 a.m. on a weekday for a nice breakfast burrito. Okay.
D viewers are commenting now. Yeah, they'll swarm it and try to fucking massage the narrative as quickly as possible. Be like, he sucks.
I mean, for those of you saying that it's homophobic, ask yourself this: who's homophobic? Are they homophobic or homoerotic? I'm getting joy, a gay man from their chicken. Kind of gay, don't you think? You ever thought about it that way?
Yeah. You can't. The thing that you guys don't understand is that they're making a gay man very happy. They're giving a gay man mouth pleasures.
That's right.
And there's nothing gayer than giving a gay man mouth pleasures.
Yep. That's very true.
Cutie is bringing salmonella as a gift for everyone at Fear and nice.
Well, I may have already had. I got my hospital bill.
I'm
going to share it on the podcast.
Save it, bro. God
damn. No, it's a cliffhanger. I'm going to share it on the podcast.
Is literally nobody going to talk about Pod Save America platforming Hassan's hog? Yeah. I would like everyone to go to look at the comments when he talked to John. Joke Society was saying the exact same things before the election and has done a better job deconstructing the campaign failures than four members of the campaign. It's time to start listening to critical voices who want to chart a bold new path forward. He's very quick to call for sending people to jail, but I do agree with him that Democrats need to stop letting Republicans get away. This was months ago this is before the election when I did a podcast with them. And like, it got a lot of play. It got a lot of play basically because I was, like, some people watched it. They're trying, but they're getting drowned out. Reported for supporting terrorism. You literally platform a terrorist sympathizer. What? Oh my God, these people are such fucking insane people, dude. I don't think they understand. They come across as crazy.
Can I go back to what I talked about earlier?
What?
When how the visceral response that I get from being around all these freaks with like camo pants and MAGA hats and shit like that. Part of me wants to resist that and take that energy and do some introspection on the way that the Democratic Party has conducted itself and how these people have been lost because of the shortcomings of the Democratic Party, as opposed to...
What do you mean?
Like,
elaborate.
What I'm saying is, instead of getting angry, because I was in literally... Okay, so it's going to sound... I don't even know if I should say this, but I went to a country concert, okay? This was a while ago. And somebody asked me to go. It was a free ticket. So I said, I'm going to fucking go. Okay. I'm just going to go. All right. And I was like a fish out of water. And I was so fucking angry, like all the time around everybody because of this like bro, like culture. What I'm trying to say is, are these people lost forever?
No.
Like, can the Democratic Party message to these people?
Yes.
Are they always going to be like, is there any hope for the bro that's sitting in the front row with the red MAGA hat and the cowboy boots and the acid wash jeans? Is there any hope for them?
Everyone can turn it around. I think it's ridiculous to make the assumption that people are just like ontologically evil or just bad across the board.
So that's
with
what I'm
no
saying.
hope.
So
you just gotta work your way. I mean, they arrived at this position. They weren't born into it, you know? You just got to keep working at it. And
it's discouraging. It's discouraging.
You got to win them back.
Around and
you got to win them back. You know?
It's so discouraging. I fit right in, though. I was
Austin
wearing a camo
is just
shirt.
heterophobic base. Oh, I was on Fox News as well. Let's take a look.
Oh shit.
They lost because they were. Democrats say they lost because they were scared of their donors.
I think that they need to change their policies.
It's a policy thing.
Yes, it's 100%.
By the way, the woman on screen has once called me a terrorist sympathizer.
Wait, but she seems like she's using you as like cannon fodder.
But
for,
yeah, now that I'm shitting on the Dems, they like it.
Oh, dude. They need to change their policies.
Wait, my uncle's gonna fucking love
It's
this.
a policy thing.
Yes,
Hell yeah.
it's 100% a policy.
I'm gonna
thing.
get so many.
Because
Which
I'll
is the
say,
boring,
right?
which is the boring
I'm gonna get
answer.
glazed at
Although it would
Thanksgiving.
be very
Oh, for knowing.
Hassan.
Yeah.
Player.
She called me she called me a terrorist supporter way back in the day when she was attacking
Well, let's
AOC.
see. Hold on. There's still 45 seconds left in the video. There's plenty
self-serving
of time
for me to say, I'm the left's Joe Rogan. The Democratic Party should give me millions of dollars. That's not going to solve this problem. What will solve this problem is if the Democratic Party actually adopts real left-wing economic populist messaging instead of purposefully avoiding that stuff because they're terrified of
bet she's
upsetting
gonna
their
ignore
corporate donors.
left wing.
I mean, man, this list of excuses is getting longer than Hillary's infamous scroll of scapegoats.
Wait, what? She just didn't understand any point I made, I think. She's not even addressing the point.
Oh, let's see.
She's not addressing anything I said. What? Yo, these people are so stupid, dude.
donor.
I like her little outfit though. It looks cool. She looks like a Wolfenstein propaganda minister for like the American Nazi territories. Am I wrong? Look at this. Wow. Yeah. Back when she was Trump's press secretary, by the way. She said, unacceptable. AOC and Ilhan Omar teamed up with activists who said America deserved 9/11. These radicals would run the show in Joe Biden's America. Yeah, remember when we ran the fucking show in Joe Biden's America? Remember when I ran the show in Joe Biden's America? That was cool.
Let's see.
I mean, man, this list of excuses is getting longer than Hillary's infamous scroll of scapegoats after the 2016 election. Democrats are going to have to do a serious autopsy around the Thanksgiving table tomorrow, and they have to figure out what to do with Kamala. Some Democrats never want to see her again. They're begging her to not run in 4 years. They don't even want her to run for governor of California.
None of this has anything to do with what you said at all.
Yeah, no, they just put it there because I was shitting on the Dems, I think. That's it.
None of it had anything to do with that.
That's amazing. You know what people are going to be sitting around the Thanksgiving table watching? Jenksgiving. That's right. Tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, Uncle Nephew. Okay? The Uncle Nephew bond. The unshakable bond.
Wait, is he gonna come on stream tomorrow?
Fuck yeah,
You
dude.
streaming during Thanksgiving?
I always stream in the lead up to Thanksgiving dinner or I guess like
shit.
our evening, like late lunch.
Dude, by the way, there's some freaking fruit out there.
Yeah, don't touch it. I'm telling mom.
Don't tell her.
I'm telling my mom.
Dude, there's
that
so many grapes. It's like
you ate the fucking fruit that was set up for the whole family.
Dude, there's like an elaborate. It looks like one of those, like, you guys ever seen like those Roman movies, like with all like the when like the elaborate like.
I was bro. Look at this.
Oh shit, you were pretty good.
That's crazy. Sorry, go on.
But you know, like those movies of like ancient Rome, and they have like the cups. What are they? What are those big cups?
Look at this guy. Sorry. These guys are so funny because they're like,
you have such bad ADHD. Have you
I'm
been
sorry.
diagnosed?
You're a fucking. Yes, I have. Of course.
I mean,
many years ago.
I mean,
You're a fucking terrorist, bitch. Fuck Gaza. He wrote in not caps. Anyway, go on.
So you know those elaborate Roman food spreads?
Uh-huh.
You know where they have like with
Yes,
the cups.
my mom
with the
likes
golden
making
cups?
those. Yeah.
So they've got one. He's got one on his counter. Fucking fresh strawberries,
Democrats say
like grapes. And I just fucking went. I ate so
You
many.
did?
I ate a few grapes. I kind of ate probably more than I should have. But to be honest, I ate a little bit out of everything, so nobody. I don't think you could really tell.
That's insane,
Dude, I'm so sorry. It was so
they
fucking
lost
good.
because they were scared of their
It
donors.
was so good. The grapes are. Kaya,
All right, chill.
chill.
All right.
So fucking good.
Speed
those
has
grapes.
fallen. What do you mean? What
I
is
think
this?
that
I show Speed shares his thoughts on streaming being a 9 to 5. Yeah, I agree with this. What do you mean? I was a server. Let me tell you this. No, it was way harder. It was draining mentally. I don't get how streamers even say that. Yeah, he's right. I agree with his take.
I agree. I think being a mother is the hardest job in the world.
Dude, fucking, let's go, dude. You're right.
That's the best. That's
Anyway,
the most difficult job.
All right, that'll be all for tonight. We are going to I'm going to end it here, and we're going to shoot a pod, hopefully, when
Sometime in
fucking
the next decade.
Cutie Cinderella gets her ass over here, hopefully.
She's fucking a turkey right now.
Anyway, love you guys. Tomorrow, Thanksgiving. I'll be live at the same time as I always am. It's going to be a shorter stream, obviously, from and Thanksgiving will commence until 3 p.m. Pacific. So get excited for that. I'm starting at 11 a.m. as always. Kaya, you are such a slut. Yeah. Anyway, and Cutie is still live. That's insane. Okay, that's insane that she's still alive. Anyway, love you guys. See you tomorrow for Thanksgiving. You already know. It's time for a shaky Gurga Thanksgiving. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Review in the P.O. box. Uncle Uger's face. In Discord at your prop. Great names take on breath. Tiny Bernie Sanders, LGBTQ for the whole left at your finger, and they at your door. Crowded debate, the Young Turks online show. 3 full fucking years of this, plenty more to go. Day fiance talks of champagne bourgeoisie. A Trump rally live reaction on mass riot at DC. Tariff